Welcome to State Engineering Service Examination SSCJ section of Winds of Change. For any problem, you can mail us at windsofchange2020@gmail.com, and to download the study material, you can download the app of Winds of Change from the Google Play Store, and the link of which is being given in the description box. Welcome to top 120 questions of IS 456 and RCC. In this video, we will cover question number 1 to 30. So let's begin. The first question. Distribution of shear intensity over the rectangular section of a beam follows a circular curve, a straight line, a parabolic curve, or an elliptical curve. Here, just think about it. We are talking about the shear intensity over a rectangular section of a beam. It does follow a parabolic curve, you can see in the graph, in which shear stress is maximum at the center near the neutral axis, and the average value can be determined here, and this graph, the pattern which is followed, is called the parabolic curve. Okay. Next question. In a pre-stressed member, it is advisable to use low strength concrete only, high strength concrete only, low strength concrete but high tensile steel, or high strength concrete and high tensile steel. I think it is an easy question to answer. What will be the answer? Just think about it. It will be option D, that is high strength concrete and high tensile steel, which is being required in case of the pre-stressing. Okay, you know the reason of it, and for this you can visit to our video. I have given the link of the video of revision of pre-stressed concrete in the description box. You can watch it from there, or you can visit to the app of Winds of Change. Next question. Total pressure on the vertical face of the retaining wall of height h acts parallel to the free surface and from the base at a distance of h by 4, h by 3, h by 2, or 2h by 3. Just think about it. It is also an easy question, since it is a triangular force that will be acting. Maximum value will be at the base, and at the top the value will be 0. So the total pressure that will be acting at the centroidal axis of the triangle, that is at the h by 3 height from the base. You can watch it here. It is the total force for this triangular portion, that is the force acting on the vertical face of the wall. Next question. In a pre-stressed beam carrying an external load W with a bent tendon is having angle of inclination theta and pre-stressed load P, the net downward load at the center is W minus 2P cos theta, W minus P cos theta, W minus P sin theta, or W minus 2P sin theta. Just think about it. Here we are talking about a beam, that is a pre-stressed beam, which is carrying an external load W from the top. Okay, now with bent tendons, it is having angle of inclination theta. The tendons are at angle theta, and pre-stress load of P, that will be acting on the tendon. So what will be the net download load? It will be option D, that is W minus 2P sin theta. You can watch it here from this diagram. The P is the pre-stress load on the tendon, okay, and W is the vertical load that will be acting on here. And you can watch it that the force that will be acting from the downward to upward, it is 2P sin theta. Okay, so the net external load that will be acting on it will be W minus 2P sin theta. Okay, got it. Next question. The minimum clear cover of RCC column shall be greater of 40 mm or diameter, smaller of 40 mm or diameter, greater of 25 mm or diameter, or smaller of 25 mm or diameter. We are talking about the minimum clear cover, not the effective cover. In case of the clear cover, we have to memorize one thing here, that it has to be greater of the 40 mm or the diameter. Okay, option A will be the correct answer. And here we have been provided clear cover to the main reinforcement for different sections. Like for footing it is 50 mm, for raft foundation 50, raft foundation with bottom or sides it is 75, for strap beam 50, for columns 40, beams 25, and slab 15 mm. Please memorize it, it is also very important. Next question. If the tendon is placed at an eccentricity E below the centroidal axis of the longitudinal axis of rectangular beam, section modulus Z and pre-stress load P in the tendon. The stress at the extreme top edge will be increased by Pz upon E, increased by Pe by Z, decreased by Pe by Z, or remains unchanged. Just think about it. In a pre-stress section, we represent tension by negative sign and compression by positive sign. So on that basis, we have to determine whether it is increased or decreased. We are talking about the extreme top edge. Since pre-stress member is at an eccentricity E below the centroidal axis, okay, so in the top there will be tension that will be developed because of this pre-stress section, pre-stress member. So in the extreme top edge, this pre-stress value, the stress value will be decreased by P by Z. Okay, memorize it, it is important. Next question. A foundation is called shallow if its depth is 1/4 of its width, half of its width, 3/4 of its width, or equal to its width. Just think about it. A foundation is called shallow. The definition of shallow foundation represents that its depth is equal to its width. Okay, that will be the correct answer and memorize it. Next question. A T-beam behaves as a rectangular beam of width equal to its flange if its neutral axis remains within the flange, remains below the slab, coincides the geometrical center of the beam, or none of these. Here we are talking that T-beams behave as rectangular beams. What is the condition in which T-beams behave as rectangular beam? If the neutral axis that will lie in which portion? It has to lie within the flange section, then only it will behave as a rectangular beam. Okay, so option A will be the correct answer. Next question. A pre-stressed rectangular beam which carries two concentrated load W at L by 3 from either end is provided with a bent tendon with tension P such that central 1/3 portion of the tendon remains parallel to the longitudinal axis. The maximum dip H is WL upon P, WL upon 2P, WL upon 3P, or WL upon 4P. Okay, so just try to find it out what will be the condition here. Here there are two concentrated load that is acting at L by 3 distance from each end. Okay, in case of the pre-stressed rectangular beam, tension that will be developed in the tendon, that is P, and 1/3 portion of the tendon remains parallel to the longitudinal axis, that is the middle 1/3 portion. Then the maximum dip, the formula for maximum dip will be option C, that is WL upon 3P. How it is so? You can watch it here. The force acting from the bottom, it will be 3P by L at this point at which the tendon will change its shape. Okay, so here since it is 3P by L which is equal to W as per the condition, so E will be WL upon 3P. Okay, that will be the maximum dip. Next question. In a combined footing for two columns carrying unequal loads, the maximum hogging bending moment occurs at less loaded column, more loaded column, a point of the maximum shear force, or a point of the zero shear force. This is a very easy question. Where we can see maximum bending moment? This is very easy question. Just think about it. It will be the case at which the shear force value will be 0. Okay, we all know it. It is very easy to answer. Next question. If a bent tendon is required to balance a concentrated load W at the center of the span L, the central dip must be at least WL upon P, WL upon 2P, WL upon 3P, or WL upon 4P. Just think about it. It is also an easy question in case of the pre-stressing. There is only a concentrated load W that is acting at the center of the span L. What has to be the eccentricity at the center? It has to be WL upon 4P because the load that will be acting from downward to upward at the center is 4PE by L, which has to be equated with the load acting from the top, that is W. So W equal to 4PE by L, so E will become WL upon 4P. It is also an easy question. We have seen other example like this in the previous questions. Next question. As per IS 456, the reinforcement in a column should not be less than. It is also an easy question and very important question. 0.5% and not more than 5% of the cross-sectional area, 0.6% and not more than 6% of the cross-sectional area, minimum value 0.7% and not more than 7% of cross-sectional area, and minimum value of 0.8% and not more than 8% of cross-sectional area. So which one will be the correct answer? Just think about it. Will be option D, that is minimum value has to be 0.8% and maximum value it has to be 8% of the cross-sectional area in case of the column. Okay, next question. If the diameter of the longitudinal bars of square column is 16 mm, the diameter of the lateral ties should not be less than 4 mm, 5 mm, 6 mm or 8 mm. It should not be less than T by 4 or 6 mm. T by 4 value is 16 by 4, that is 4 mm. It should not be less than 4 mm or 6 mm. So what will be the answer? Minimum value has to be C, option C, that is 6 mm. Okay. Next question. The diameter of the main bar in RCC column shall not be less than 6 mm, 8 mm, 10 mm or 12 mm. What will be the answer? It is very easy question. In case of the RCC column, minimum diameter of reinforcement bar has to be 12 mm. That is option D will be the correct answer. We have explained all these things in the revision video of IS 456. You can watch it from the link given in the description box, or you can visit to the app of Winds of Change where you will find everything with the study material. Next question. Minimum spacing between the horizontal parallel reinforcement of the same size in the beam should not be less than 1 diameter, 2.5 diameter, 3 diameter or 3.5 diameter. Just think about it. Here we are talking about the horizontal parallel reinforcement. That is the main reinforcement. The distance between these should not be less than 1 diameter. That is option A will be the correct answer. Okay. Next question. Minimum spacing between the horizontal parallel reinforcement of different size should not be less than. In the previous question, it was of same size and now it is of different size. Then it should not be less than 1 diameter of the thinner bar, 1 diameter of the thicker bar, or twice the diameter of the thinner bar, or none of these. Just think about it. It should not be less than 1 diameter of the thicker bar. That is option B will be the correct answer, which you can easily guess also. Next question. The radius of a bar bent to form a hook should not be less than twice the diameter, thrice the diameter, 4 times the diameter or 5 times the diameter. Just think about it. At every bend which forms a hook, the radius of that should not be less than, the answer will be option A, that is twice the diameter in case of each bend. Okay, memorize it, it is very important. Next question. A part of the slab may be considered as a flange of T-beam if the flange has adequate reinforcement transverse to beam, it is built integrally with the beam, it is effectively bonded together with the beam, or all of the above. Just think about it. Here we are talking about the slab. There is a part of the slab that may be considered as a flange of the T-beam. What must be the condition? The answer will be all of these. Okay, first of all, the flange should have adequate reinforcement transverse to the beam, and it is built integrally with the beam, and it is effectively bonded together with the beam. Okay, so all these conditions has to be satisfied so that a part of the slab can be called as a T-beam. Next question. If the maximum dip of a parabolic tendon carrying tension P is H and effective length of the pre-stressed beam is L, the upward uniform pressure will be 8 HP by L, 8 HP by L square, 8 HL upon P, or 8 HL upon P square. We have already seen a few questions like this. We have seen two conditions before, in which first of all there was a condition of concentrated load W. In second case there was two forces of W acting at distance L by 3 from the end, and now it is a condition in which uniform pressure is acting. Okay, let's say it is W, then it has to be determined by, the answer will be option B, that is 8 HP upon L square. Okay, it can be determined from here because W equal to 8P upon L square, and P is written here, and E, that is eccentricity, is written here as H. So we can write it down like this: 8HP upon or 8P upon L square. Okay, which is the condition in which the parabolic tendons has been applied in a beam. Next question. Pick up the incorrect statement from the following. Tensile reinforcement bar of a rectangular beam are curtailed if not required to resist the bending moment, are bent up at suitable places to serve as shear reinforcement, are bent down at suitable places to serve as shear reinforcement, are maintained at bottom to provide at least local bond stress. Just think about it. We have to find out the incorrect statement about the tensile reinforcement bar of rectangular beam. The answer will be option C, that is, it is being given that are bent down at suitable places to serve as shear reinforcement, which is incorrect. These reinforcement, the tensile reinforcement, are bent up. Okay, they are bent up at suitable places to serve as shear reinforcement. Okay, are curtailed if not required to resist the bending moment, and are maintained at bottom to provide at least local bond stress. Okay. Next question. According to the steel beam theory of W reinforced beam, tension is resisted by tension steel, compression resisted by compression steel, stress in tensile steel equals the stress in compression steel, or all of the above. Just think about it. The answer will be option D, that is all of the above. Here, the basic funda is tension is resisted by the tension steel as well as compression will be resisted by compression steel, and the stress in the tension steel equal to the stress in compression steel that will be provided in case of the doubly reinforced beam. You can watch it here. Compression steel is represented by ASC and tension steel by AST, and the stress developed by these two has to be equal to each other. Okay, this is the lever arm. Next question. The width of the flange of a T-beam, which may be considered to act effectively with the rib, depend upon width of the rib, overall thickness of the rib, center to center distance between the T-beams, or all of the above. Here we are talking about the width of the flange of a T-beam. It will depend upon the formula contains, what are the parameters that the formula contains. The answer will be option D, that is all of the above. Okay. How it is so? You can watch it. For T-beam, width of flange is given by BW plus 6TF plus L0 by 6. Okay, so it depends upon the width of web, depth of flange, and the effective length. Or here there can also be a possibility of center to center distance between the beams. You can watch the revision of RCC from the link in the description box. Next question. The maximum area of the tension reinforcement in a beam shall not exceed 0.15%, 1.5%, 4%, or 1%. Here we are talking about the maximum area of tension reinforcement. We have already seen a question about compression reinforcement. Now it is being asked about tension reinforcement. So it should not exceed, it is given in the IS 456, it should not exceed 4%. Okay, memorize it, it is very important. Next question. Lapped splices in tensile reinforcement are generally not used for bar of diameter size larger than 18 mm diameter, 24 mm diameter, 30 mm diameter, or 36 mm diameter. Just think about it. The lap splices that will not be provided if the diameter exceeds. The answer will be option D, that is 36 mm. After 36 mm, the splices are not being used. There we provide a nut and bolt kind of arrangement at the ends. Next question. After pre-stressing process is completed, a loss of stress is due to shrinkage of concrete, elastic shortening of concrete, creep of concrete, or all of the above. It is very easy question. After the pre-stressing process is completed, the losses will be because of all these. That is option D will be correct, because of shrinkage as well as elastic shortening as well as the creep of concrete. Okay. Next question. If the size of the column is reduced above the floor, the main bar of the column are continued up, bent inward at the floor level, stopped just below the floor level, and separate lap bars are provided, or all of the above. What will be the answer? It will be option D, that is all of the above. If the size of the column is reduced above the floor, okay, if it is not moving above the floor, then the main bars of the column either it is continued up if it is being provided up, okay, if there is a process of expansion that can occur in the future, or it can be bent inward at floor level. Okay, it will be bent like this horizontally at the floor level, and it is stopped just below the floor level, and separate lap bars are being provided. These bars which are coming from the down, these are being stopped here, then separate lap bars are being provided to the floor. Okay, next question. The advantage of the concrete pile over the timber pile is no decay due to termite, no restriction on the length, higher bearing capacity, or all of the above. Think about it. Why we prefer concrete pile over timber pile? The answer will be option D, that is all of the above. Okay, because there is no decay due to termite in this case, no restriction of the length, as well as the higher bearing capacity. All these are the answer to use concrete pile over timber pile. It is very easy. Next question. An RCC roof slab is designed as two-way slab if it supports live load in both directions, the ratio of the spans in two directions is less than 2, the slab is continuous over two supports, or the slab is discontinuous at the edges. Here we are talking of the condition in which the roof slab that will be designated as two-way slab. Where is the question? Can you guess it? It will be option B, that is the ratio of span in two direction is less than 2. In that case, it will be called as two-way slab. Okay, Lx upon Ly. If it is less than 2, it is called two-way slab. If it is more than 2, it is called one-way slab. Next question. The amount of the reinforcement for main bars in a slab is based upon minimum bending moment, maximum shear force, or minimum shear force. It is also an easy question. The amount of the reinforcement of main bar in a slab that will be provided based on the maximum value of the bending moment, that is option B will be the correct answer. Next question. The transverse reinforcement provided at right angle to the main reinforcement to distribute the load, to resist the temperature stresses, to resist the shrinkage stresses, or all of the above. It is also an easy question. Why we provide the distribution reinforcement? The transverse reinforcement or the distribution reinforcement that is provided at right angle to the main reinforcement for all of these reasons: to distribute the load, to resist the temperature stresses, and to resist the shrinkage stresses. Okay, temperature and shrinkage, for these two conditions as well as to distribute the load, we provide transverse reinforcement. Okay, so here we will finish with the 30th question of RCC and IS 456. In the next video, we will come up with question number 31 to 60. Till that, subscribe to this channel and stay updated.